think it might have actually worked this time. Let me go check right quick. We'll see. Maybe, theoretically, if everything worked out right, I should be live right now on Facebook and YouTube. Oh dear. Oh, yes, we are. We are indeed. Okay. So, it doesn't matter where you are. You can send me a message wherever you are. If you're watching me on YouTube, you can send me a message on YouTube if you have the ability to do so. And if you're on Facebook, you can send me a comment in that. I should be able to see it theoretically if everything is working as planned. But if you are already a client and have the private means to do so, go ahead and send me a direct message. I'm also paying attention to those. So, what I'm thinking of doing is this series on planning with me, and because I realize that a lot of people have a very different idea about astrology and how all of these things work, and may or may not necessarily have an empowered or empowering stance on the way that they work with or view or perceive astrology. So it's one of those, I kind of feel like I should allow you to immerse in what I see and give you a view through my eyes. And so what I've done is I've created this circuit so that it really simplifies the way that these stars work together and talk together. And it helps to make a visual representation, whereas your traditional circular chart just ends up with a bunch of crossed lines and it's all very confusing. In this, I'm attempting to break it open so that you can see it more obviously with what's really going on. So, to that end, I've separated it by moon and then sun and then just the September planets, the ones that impact us. Everything before Saturn and including Saturn will impact us on a personal level very greatly and very overtly and very obviously, but in very specific ways. But our outermost planets are also worth looking at because they will definitely cause some influence on the way that we interpret this. Basically, they're the subconscious. They're what's going on underneath the surface. And it's worth looking at those to get a little bit more nuance as to what's going on. I always make a point of sitting down every voidtive course and looking at these charts. Because the voidtive course is when we're going to be the most, as you might say, emotionally detached in a certain way. And during the voidtive course, it's not a good time to make decisions, but it is a good time to reflect on where you've been, consider how that applies to you now, and plan at least your days in terms of your theme of what you're going to achieve coming up until the next voidtive course. So I have my notes in front of me, and my next voidtive course is beginning next Tuesday at about 1 p.m. and goes on all the way through next Wednesday until 10 p.m. So expect to maybe see me live again, probably Tuesday afternoon, so that you can do another plan with me session if you'd like. All that being said, let's get started on planning for tomorrow. Tomorrow, you might notice all the way at the very top of that, we have moon opposed our sun. So our feelings are against our identity. We're having a battle with our sense of identity. And this is a very exact thing, an exact aspect. You can see at the very top, I have a scale for the strength of the line indicating the strength or the particularities of this connection. So right now it is exact, which means that right here, right now, as of Saturday, February 24th, we're having a moment with our identity. So what else is going on with that? everything else is kind of secondary to that. And you see that in this chart because the only solid and exact line is right here. But the other strong lines are also all yellow. We have that opposition between our moon and this whole Saturn-Mercury conjunction down here. So it's opposed our moon, our sun is opposed our moon, our Saturn is opposed our moon, our Mercury is opposed our moon. All of these things, our sense of order, our sense of communication, our sense of identity, is challenging us right now. This is a challenging time. And it might seem like we're being challenged on purpose. And okay, this might well be true. But at the same time, the undercurrent here you see, Saturn is sextile Jupiter. This is for our growth. Jupiter is trine our moon. This is for our growth. Pluto is conjunct Venus and Mars. Pluto being the planet of our future, being the planet of planning and time and long-term and legacy, is most closely connected to our values, and our values are very closely connected to our actions. And we feel like it's not helping us. We feel like it's not causing growth, or that it's directly against growth. Like a lot of people feel that conflict is a bad thing, whereas not being involved in the conflict that you found yourself in, trying to play neutral party in a situation where there is no such thing as neutral, is actually the more destructive thing to do. In this moment, in this day, tomorrow, it's going to feel a bit like everything is going against us. So, if I were to set a theme for Saturday, it would definitely be take it easy. That's my plan for Saturday, and that's what I plan for. That's literally what I'm writing in my book right now for Saturday. The plan is take it easy. But don't do anything too unusual, because, I mean, you probably could. Uranus is not really very involved. Jupiter is not really very involved. So if you're trying to get away from this whole circuit and just sort of carve out your own little piece of peace and quiet, you could go with your dreams in Neptune, or you could go with or you could go with something completely different and choose Uranus and escape this whole tug and pull that's going on right here. All right, so moving on to the 25th, Sunday, as you can see, is indicated by the sun in the top left. And as you might be able to see from, so yesterday to today, nothing's really changed a great deal, except Uranus is now trine our moon. And there's a lot more of this sextile going on here with Jupiter. So, and also Mercury has moved over to being more directly conjunct with our sun over here in Pisces. Mercury transitions to Pisces. So this means that we're more able to communicate our dreams. We're more able to connect what our concepts are for our dreams with our sense of growth. And it's just generally an easier sort of day in terms of being able to recognize that we're doing what's right for ourselves. Now, we're more connected to the now. Pluto is now kind of disconnected from Venus, so we're not so lofty and far away in our thoughts. We're more connected to the here and now and today. So Sunday, it's definitely a good time for relating, for connection, for time together. And that's what I'm putting in my planner. All right, so moving on to February the 26th, just so that you get a good quick view of how these charts shift between the days. We don't have a lot changing. Mars and Venus are still in their little square tug of war with Jupiter. It's just that now Mars is very directly in its war with Jupiter. So it's almost on Monday. So you see the moon top left here. It's almost as if on Monday we really just don't want to do anything towards our growth. We are dragging our heels. And this is made more evident by our moon trine Pluto. Pluto tends to make us really think about what if a lot. And especially when it's that well aspected to our moon, it's going to be very easy for us to ask what if sorts of questions. So if you're trying to hypothesize about a decision, just try not to go too far down those rabbit holes, because our moon is also opposite Neptune. So Neptune is going to kind of sit there being opposed to our moon, giving it every possible bad idea, dreaming up every possible bad way that this could turn out. You're going to want to be more conscious of paying attention to your self-thoughts and bringing awareness to how that might be manifesting, how you might be focused more on the negative and overthinking than anything else. So Monday is not a good time to be making decisions, because you're going to have a lot of overthought going on. The only really good support is that our Sun and Saturn and Mercury, little stellium here, is all sextile with Jupiter. So if we can get into a flow, if we can get into that thing that we really, really love to do the most and just kind of bunker down and do it, then that's where we're going to find that sweet spot within us. It might even be something completely different because Uranus is completely uninvolved. So try to have something that's more of a doing. As much as, Mars doesn't want to actually do anything. So maybe something that feels less like an active doing. Right? So, okay. Maybe the thing that you really want to do is the planning of the doing. So it's not actually the doing, right? Because Mars is square Jupiter. But the planning of the doing, right? So it, like, really coming down with the concrete nitty gritty. Okay, I want to set this goal for this time frame, and this is my timeline, and really build out that timeline and build out something that would communicate your plan to somebody else. That's what this is a really good time to work on, because you have Saturn conjunct Mercury, conjunct our Sun. We're very capable of communicating our standards for organization. So Monday is a good time for internal communications development. And that's exactly what I'm writing down for Monday. Now, Tuesday, February 27th, just to give you another little view as to how this is changing. Notice first these squares. Venus is starting to kind of trail away even more from being square with Jupiter, and Mars is now no longer direct. It's starting to trail away from being square with Jupiter. Our moon is still trine these two celestial bodies in our trailing our Sun. And otherwise, it's a pretty quiet day, celestially speaking. So, with it feeling like things are a little lighter, a little bit easier than they have been, Tuesday's probably a great day to really make that a very productive, like, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this, and this kind of a day, and hammer down and get things done, especially with our moon trine Mars and Venus. It's just really lined up to support our actions, that support our values, and we're just emotionally aligned with that. Mars is now trailing away from being square with Jupiter, so that makes it feel lighter, makes it feel easier. It's all getting easier now. So this is a good time to actually, like, make forward steps. So something focused. Let's do that. That's what I'll write for my plan for Tuesday, is something focused. All right, so that's my plan for Tuesday. Wednesday is the last day in this grouping before we end up, well, actually no, Wednesday is the planning day. And Tuesday the planning can begin at 1 p.m. So it's a really good time, like I said, something focused. So Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern is a good time to start with the planning. Wednesday, all day, is a great day for planning because the void, of course, ends at 10 p.m., which means that as of 10 p.m., the moon actually does enter Scorpio. The moon actually does enter Scorpio. Oh, that's for the 29th. Yep. So the moon actually does enter Scorpio at 10 p.m. Previous to that, it's still in Libra, as you see here. And it is now squaring up with Pluto. So our feelings are very drawn towards the future. Our feelings are very focused on how we're going to feel in our future towards our legacy and things along those lines. It's a really, really good time to plan ahead long term. So spend lots of time planning an entire month ahead. It's a really, really good opportunity for this. We rarely get one like this right before the beginning of a month. And furthermore, our sun is actually now directly and exactly conjunct with Mercury and Saturn. So our sense of identity is very much in connection with our sense of organization and our sense of communication. We're very much connected in that regard. And of course, we're going to be very resistant to new things or to unusual things. So just be mindful that you might have immediate knee-jerk reactions with Mars and Venus square Uranus during this time. So anything that is new or too unusual, you might immediately just reject out of hand. Just be aware that that might be something you'll do and not do it as much. Question yourself when you have an immediate knee-jerk reaction like that. And just to wrap up the month so that we have the whole month of February covered, on Thursday, February the 29th, it's going to be a very emotionally active day. Like you see, compared to the 28th, it's very quiet, and that's the time for planning, okay? That's when you really want to get some planning done. The very next day, it starts getting hectic with our sun becoming sextile, all of everything going on down there, with the Jupiter, and, so now we've got Saturn losing its sextile with Jupiter. Mercury is directly sextile with Jupiter. Sun is coming into being sextile with Jupiter. So we have a lot of opportunity for growth so long as we've laid down that bedwork for it, especially with our sun trine our moon as well. There's a lot of support around us at that time, or at least astrologically speaking, for us to actually grab life by the horns and make real forward progress. So I hope to see you again on the 28th. I might even do it on the 27th. Depends on which one is more available for you. Which one's better? Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday about this same time? Which one would you prefer? Until then, ahui ho'u. See you next time. Aloha.